I might be live. We will find out in a second when this all starts whirring into gear. Let's see what happens. We had some technical issues a second ago. We'll find out whether those technical issues were caused by me or by the universe. Who knows? There's my pretty face on the screen. I'm going to tilt this back just a little bit so you guys can all see my beautiful face. There we go. Hopefully people can see me. Let's find out. It says that I'm live. Hello, yes, I can be seen. Fantastic, excellent. All right, I'm sorry everyone for the delay. We had a slight technical problem that may have been human-induced. It may have been science-related. It could have been anything. Who knows? But I'm here now and you can hear me. This is my first ever Facebook Live magic event, which is very exciting. So I'm in my Facebook mode. Got lots of fake news here for you. And because this is of course a library book, I have done the official library bookcase behind me. Jessa is here. Fantastic. Excellent. Hi Jessa. Thank you very much for joining us today. And it looks like people are starting to come in, so I think we should just get started. Before we begin, I would just like to take a moment to recognize the traditional custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri people, and their elders past, present, future, and emerging. It's an honor to be on your land today. My name is Nicholas J. Johnson, and this is Deceptology. And it's very, very exciting for me to be asked by Moreland City Libraries to be here today to talk about the neuroscience of magic, because this really combines everything that I love. I love science, I love the human brain, I love magic, after all I'm a professional magician, and I love books. I read them. My mother was a librarian. I even wrote one. This is Tricky Nick. This is my brand new book available at your local library. It's the story of how I became a magician. It wouldn't be a social media video if you weren't interrupted by ads every few minutes. I think maybe we should just get straight into it. So, the best way to explain neuromagic, the neuroscience of magic, is to demonstrate it. And I'm going to do it with this device here. This is called a neuro adapter. This device does no less than manipulate the inner workings of the human brain, changing the way in which you perceive reality itself. For example, looking at my head, would you say that I have what you would call a normal-sized head? No, I mean, it's ridiculous. I look like I've been described by a teenager as looking like a Conor McGregor bobblehead. It's huge, but I can change it using the neural adapter. So what I'm going to do is just hold this up here to the screen, and your job is to stare at this screen right there at that silver dot. Now, a word of advice, the larger the screen you're doing this on, the better the effect will be. And if you stand back a little bit, if you move back from the screen, you'll get an even better reaction. So what you need to do is just stare here at the center of the screen. And if it doesn't work for you this time, you can always try again on a different screen later on when we replay the video. So I'm just going to turn this disc like this. All you need to do is just stare there at the center. Don't look away. Just keep staring. Now you might start to feel a little bit queasy. That's okay. That just means that it's working. Alright. Now you might start to feel a little bit dizzy. That's okay. Perfectly acceptable. You might feel like throwing up in the lap of the person next to you. That's okay. Just keep staring at that dot right there in the center. Now I'm going to count down from 5 to 1, at which point I'd like you to look straight at my head, or maybe at the back of your hand, whichever you prefer. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, if this worked correctly on you, you would have just seen my head or the back of your hand seem to shrink and warp. If it didn't work, you can always go back and watch the video again when we're finished and try it maybe on a bigger screen. Start standing back a little bit and see if you can get it working then. So, why does this work? Well, like I said, this is called a neural adapter. And what's actually happening is called neural adaptation. Neural adaptation is when your brain is presented with a stimuli that it doesn't need or that it can't understand, and so it filters it out. It sort of chooses not to accept it. So for example, if you remember being at school when you put like a heavy backpack on, it was full of books, and it would dig into your shoulders, and then a few minutes later you wouldn't feel it anymore. Well, that is neural adaptation. And it's the same sort of thing. In fact, the same thing is happening right now. If you're sitting down right now, you probably can't feel your backside until I mention it, and now you can feel your backside. And that is because of neural adaptation. Your brain is filtering it out. So here, while you're staring at this spinning disc going round and round and round like that, your brain realizes, oh, hang on, I can't actually handle that stimuli. I can see that it appears to be getting bigger, but I know that it's not. So your brain filters it out. The problem is that, of course, it takes a second for your brain to then readjust when you stop looking at it. And so things that should be perfectly still, like my head or the hand, actually seem to grow. It's a bit like when you would get to school and you take off your heavy backpack and you'd feel yourself floating away. You'd feel yourself sort of rising and floating away. It's exactly the same effect. And you see this all the time. Anyone who's ever played Guitar Hero for too long and seen that same repeated pattern and then stared at wallpaper. Or if you've ever stared at sort of people marching along, like soldiers marching for too long, the same effect. Or staring at a waterfall. It's called a motion after effect, and it's caused by neural adaptation. Now, I love this stuff, not because I'm a neuroscientist, but because I am a professional magician. I've spent the last 20 years of my life performing magic for people. But in recent years, I've become fascinated with not just how to fool people, but why do we get fooled? What is it about the human brain that makes us so easily get tricked? And there is, incredibly, a branch of science that studies this. It is called Neuromagic. I know that sounds like a metal band, but it's real. Neuromagic. And it is the study of why we get fooled, why we get deceived. So today I'm going to show you some incredible magic. I'm then going to teach you how to do the tricks yourself. And I'm also going to explain the neuroscience as to why it's possible. So, for example, would you say it'd be possible for me sitting here to reach through the camera and to try and influence one of you, just one random person? And it literally could be anyone. That's what I'm going to try and do right now. Now I'm going to need something to write with, so let's see, I've got a pad here to write on. I'm also going to need my trusty Sharpie, which I always carry with me, and I hope that I've got it, because I've got to write things down on my trusty thing. Let me just stand up and see if I can grab it before it is. Here it is, down here on the floor, where it shouldn't be. All right, I haven't disappeared. That is a disappearing magic show. A disappointing magic show. Now, if you look here behind me, you can see that there is an eye, a hand, a top hat, and a brain. And what I'd like you to do is to think of one of those, either the eye, the hand, the top hat, or the brain. And I'm going to try and influence one of you to choose the one that I want. There's also a crystal ball down here. Don't choose the crystal ball, okay? That would it won't work if you choose the crystal ball. So what we're going to do is I'd like you just to think of one, and in fact, let's just do this on just one person. So one person who is watching at home, what I'd like you to do is just to type in the comment section either eye, hand, top hat, or brain. Normally, if I'm doing this live, I would choose someone at random from the audience. So whoever appears first in the comment section, I will use that one. So it's either brain, top hat, hand, or eye. Oh, someone had said me. Now, so so Carmelina, yes, Carmelina, you can do it. All I need you to do for me is to write either brain, top hat or hat, hand, or eye. So it is your choice, whichever one of those you would like to type. I just want you to make sure you write your choice down in the comment section, and we will use whichever one you choose. I'm going to write it down here just to make sure. So we're waiting for her decision. You may think that I'm trying to force you to choose one over the other. Don't feel like you have to choose that one. At the same time, don't choose the one that you, don't try and second guess me. Just one of these will speak to you. She said brain. So the brain right here. No, you're absolutely sure brain? Okay, yeah, like you can't change your mind. The lag is too long. We will be here forever. All right. Brain. Look at that. I can't believe. Look at that. I got excited with my B, and then by the time I got to my N, it was all over. It was all over. That is weird that you should have said brain, because that was the exact one I wanted you to choose. Check it out. It says right here, you will pick the brain. Now, that is incredible. The fact that I can reach through the camera and influence someone's decision like that is impossible. But of course, that happens to us every day on the internet. We're influenced in all sorts of ways. So the question is, how did I do it? Now, my gut instinct, if I saw that, would be to say that Carmelina is a friend of mine, and we've set this up. But we can do this live. I can do this with any person, and I will always manage to influence them correctly. So how did I do it? Here's the annoying part. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to wait until the very end, and I'm going to see if you guys can actually figure out how it's possible to influence someone's decision like that. Because it is possible to do. Now, before I give you that answer, however, let me show you something really cool, and that is, of course, card tricks. Now, card tricks are very, very hard to do on the internet for obvious reasons, because I can't really say, pick a card, any card. And if I was to choose the card, you guys would be suspicious, yeah? So what I'd like someone here to do is I'm going to go through the cards. So it's not a full deck. There's a couple cards missing. I'm going to go through, and I'd like someone just to think of one. Carmelina, it can be you again if you would like. If you see a card that you like, just write the name of that card, brilliant, in the comment section. And once again, we will go with the first one that comes up. Ooh, voice sound. Yeah, like they used somehow the sound of my voice to influence you. I like that. All right. All right. Now, people seem a bit shy, so Carmelina, if you want to do one again, that's absolutely fine with me. And Morland staff, you're welcome as well. If you see a card that you like, just write the name of it. So you might type Ace of Spades, you might type, let's see, King of Clubs, and I'll wait until we have someone. All right, if we don't get one, I'll choose someone, but it would be less impressive if I was to choose the person. All right, here's all our cards there. Oh, so here we go, 5 of diamonds. Brilliant. Let's see if there is a 5 of diamonds in here. If not, we might need just to grab the 5 of hearts. Let's see, 5 of diamonds. Yes, brilliant, fantastic. 5 of diamonds, and I'm going to write your name on the card as well. This is always the part where I spell people's names incorrectly, but it's right there in front of me. This is one good thing about this format. All right. Great. All right, fantastic. So, there we go. So we've got there a card right there with her name on it, okay? So, there are 2 ways in which I can do this. Sorry, I'll just show you. There is the card right there. I'm going to make sure my hands are in frame the whole time. I might just bring the camera down just a tiny bit so you guys can see. Chop off the top of my enormous head, but that's okay. All right, just a little. All right, here we go. So, there is the card right there. All you need to do is just keep track of the card. Now, if I was to watch and keep track of it myself, I would know that it's 26 cards from the top. I could then cut some like that, and it would then move down to 16. I could give it a little shuffle, it goes to 24, goes from 18 to 9 to 6 to 12 to 15. And then I hopefully can catch the card in midair, like that. Now that is sleight of hand. That's me manipulating the cards. But what we're doing today is we're trying to manipulate you. So watch the cards closely. Here we go. Check it out. Here's our deck of cards. I'm going to cut them just like this. Alright, don't take your eye off those cards. Did you see it? The card just disappeared from the deck. And have a look. In here, I'm just going to reach into my pocket, is one card. Yeah? And it's the 5 of diamonds. Thank you very much. So what? No, just kidding. That would not be a very good show. That would not be a very good show. It is, in fact, right there, the 5 of diamonds. So, how is that possible? How do we do that? Well, this works because the human eye, what we're seeing here through today, isn't able to focus everywhere at once. We assume we can see everything at once, but in reality, we can only really focus on a small space. In fact, if you make a shape like this with your fingers in front of you, like that, directly in front of you like this, and look through it with just one eye, you'll notice that the only thing that's really in focus is what you can see through that circle. the further out you go, the blurrier it gets. Another way of doing it is to look straight at me, straight down the camera, hold your finger like this, and then just sort of move your finger to the side of your head, to the side of your head like this, and you'll notice it'll go blurry and then it'll just completely disappear. So you have this peripheral vision, essentially, that can't actually see that much. What that means is that you cannot watch this hand at the same time as this hand. You can't watch them both at once. It's just not possible to do. So for example, if you try and watch this hand like this, very, very closely, and you're trying to watch it as closely as you can, if you're keeping your eye on that one, you're not watching this hand, which is where the card is. Yeah? Your eyes just can't focus on both stimuli at once, which means when I reach into my pocket like that, I can get the card out. Yeah? So look, I'll do it again. Here we go. Just like this. I've got the card like this. I reach over, I take it like that, and I literally put it in my hand. So I'll do it again at speed, and this time you might catch me. In fact, if you go back and watch the video again, you might find it even easier to catch me. So my pocket is here, this is here, so I just sort of reach over like this, I'll be talking to you like that. Do you know what's probably happening right now is there are people watching here, and there are people watching here, but I reckon most of you are going back and forth, some of you are looking at the comment section, some of you are watching TV as well, and it's that inability just to focus on one thing that actually means that it's possible for me to get the card inside my pocket all over again. One more try. Here we go. Watch it close. There is our card right there. I'm going to cut it. Here we go. Shuffle it. Boom. Just like that. And you can see the card should be inside my pocket. No, it's not there, because I knew you would be watching closely that time. Yeah? And of course, if you're watching closely, then you won't notice me putting all of the cards in my other pocket, leaving me one card here, and that's the one with your name on it. So, because your eye can't focus everywhere at once, that means it's possible for me to fool you. Yeah, you can only really focus on a very small space. Even looking on a screen like this, really you're only going to be looking at one part of the screen, at the stimuli that catches your attention, and your eye can't focus on the rest, which means your brain tends to just filter that information out. Now I'm going to try a trick now that's not particularly dangerous, but it's the sort of trick that when you do it, people tend to be concerned for my safety, and also concerned that people might try this at home. So we're on Facebook, which is technically not for kids, but if there are any kids watching, what I'm about to do is a little bit dangerous, and you definitely can't try this at home. In order to do it, we need a couple of pieces of rope, like this, yeah? And I'm going to see whether I can saw my head off with these two pieces of rope. Yeah. So let me show you. Let me show you what I mean. I'm just going to take the piece of rope like this. And get a job at a casino. I wish I could get a job at a casino. However, I'm known professionally as the honest con man. Like my website is conman.com.au, and I work a lot at the casino as an entertainer, which means I'm very rarely hired to work there for anything other than pure entertainment. All right, here we go. I'm going to try and saw my head off, just like this. As I said, if there are kids watching, please don't try this. Parents, if you are watching your kids, keep an eye on them. All right, I'm going to try and saw my head off. It's going to go right through my neck. Let's do it. Here we go. And 1, 2. Actually, no, I'm going to make it a little bit harder. Just going to tie a knot down here. Just make it a little bit harder for myself, just like that. Here we go. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And it goes right through my neck. 2 solid ropes. Now, this is brilliant. What I love about this is that this is the same principle for how you saw a lady unharmed. Exactly the same principle. But in this case, we're doing it with a couple of pieces of rope. So you can make this yourself at home if you want to. All you're going to need is a couple of shoelaces. So this works because of Gestalt psychology. So Gestalt psychology is the basic idea that the human brain loves to see patterns. We love looking for patterns. Any chance that we get to see a pattern, we will seek one out. And that often means that we will complete patterns that don't really exist. So if you ever think of the World Wildlife Fund logo with the little that little panda, and when you look at it closely, it's actually just a couple of splodges, but your brain fills in the pattern. It sort of follows the line. So one of my most favorite ones is called the law of continuation. And the law of continuation says that the human brain likes to see a straight line. So if I was to show you this right here and say there are two lines here, you would see, so yeah, absolutely, there are two straight lines. 1, 2, just like that. But there's no reason why it can't be two crooked lines, yeah? So one like that, and one like that, yeah? There's two lines, yeah? Just there happen to have a bend in them. So what that means is that when you see those sort of shapes, your brain always goes for what is the straight line rather than the crooked line, if it has the opportunity to. Which means if I have these pieces of rope and I tell you that I have two pieces of rope, your brain tends to see two straight pieces of rope rather than two pieces of rope that have been folded in half. So I literally take the piece of rope, I fold it in half like that, I take the other piece, fold it in half like that, and then I tie them together with a little piece of thread. So when I hold them up like this, your brain sees that straight rope. The handkerchief, which has ended up on the floor behind me, is only really, the pocket square, sorry, is only really there to cover the loops, is to hide the loops in the center, so that, just like that, yeah, just to hide those loops. Obviously, normally I do a slightly better job of doing it, like that. Beautiful. So you don't notice that instead of being two straight pieces of rope, it's two pieces of rope with a fold right there in the middle. So obviously now if I was to pull that, it would go, I'd end up with one piece over here and one here, and no one would be impressed. So instead I just tie a little knot like that, and then when I pull at the back, very, very slowly, that one comes undone, that one comes undone, and it appears to go straight through. Of course, you have to do it quickly, otherwise you have to do it nice and quick to get the effect that it's going straight through your neck. So this is in fact the same reason why it's possible to saw a woman in half. When you see the boxes with the feet at one end and the head at the other, your brain draws a straight line from the head to the feet and assumes that it is a straight line. But of course there's no reason why it can't be two women curled up, a woman who is the head at one end curled up in the box at one end, and another woman at the other end who's also sort of curled up as well, and the saw goes in between the two of them. So that's Gestalt psychology. It's why logos can be so effective sometimes. Now there is another way of doing it. This is the other way. It's a little bit more complicated, and that is actually, let me show you. Let's say you wanted to kind of pull it like that between your between your neck. Now for this one you actually need, I've got something just hidden down the back of my, oh no, where did I put them? Ah, here they are. Just some extra equipment. These, yeah. So all we do is just take that at the back and just cut through the rope like this, and there's one, and there is the other, just like that, and it passes right through your neck. Now of course people will sometimes notice that you now have two pieces of rope, so in that case you just sort of throw it like that, and your piece of rope goes back together as good as new. Now if you miss that, I'll do it for you again, just for you, Carmelina. Alright, there we go, cut it straight through, boom, and it goes right through the middle. It's easy actually, if I just get rid of these ends altogether, and it's like that. Actually, I'll put those back on again, otherwise that piece of rope isn't quite as good as it needs to be. Just like that. There we go. I'm cheating, of course, the second way, but it does use Gestalt psychology, and if you couldn't figure out exactly what I was doing, that just shows you the power of that type of illusion. What a poor woman best slice up a bloke. That is a very good point. The question is, why do women get sawn in half? The technical reason is that women tend to be more flexible and smaller, and they can be twisted up into the positions that they need to be inside the box. The other reason, and this is specifically why a woman is sawn in half, that goes back to the origins of the trick that recently just celebrated their centenary. In fact, if you look up Soaring in Half Centenary, you'll find the history of the trick. One of the first kind of big publicity stunts for sawing a woman in half was a magician who offered to saw a women's rights activist in half to keep her quiet, you know, basically as a joke at the expense of the women who were involved in this movement. And it got him, you know, everyone laughed, and it got a lot of publicity, and women everywhere rolled their eyes. But that stuck as the presentation. It was specifically a woman being sawn in half, and that was, you know, that was where it came from, and that's why we have it. Now, if you have been joining from the start, you want to still know about this, I'm going to get to this, and I'll explain exactly how that is possible. I don't want to leave you hanging. But I do want to show you something else that you can actually do yourself at home. In order to do it, you're going to need some matchboxes. You can get matchboxes or any sort of boxes that you might like. Yes. Now, Barbara has said, "Oh, very funny," and I am. This is the internet, and you can't tell whether people are being sarcastic on the internet. But I am guessing that "oh, very funny" is I know a sarcastic "oh, very funny" when I'm there. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right. So we're going to play our little game right now. In order to do it, I'm just going to bring down our camera just a little bit so you can see there the table. All right. So I have here 3 matchboxes right here, and to make it easier to tell which is which, I'm going to put a 3 in front of this one here. I am going to put a ace, that's a 1, in front of this one, and in the other one, the third one in the middle, I'm going to put a 2. Now, only one of these is of interest to it. It's not this one, because you can see that one is empty. It's also it's not this one either. That one is also empty. This is the one that is of interest. Whoop, it almost all fell out. This is the coins that I just stole from my daughter's Beatrix's money box. Right there, and you can spot this one. This one's easy to spot. I don't know if you can hear it there. Let me give it a little shake. Right there. You guys can hear it there. Give it a little shake. Yeah. All right. So, what I'm going to do, hopefully you can, yeah, hopefully you guys can hear it. So, what I'm going to do is, I'd like you just to keep your eye on this one just here, and I'm going to mix them up. Now, your job will be to watch which one has the cash in it to see whether you can keep an eye on it. Yeah, and we'll see whether you are correct. Hopefully the microphone can pick this up all right. All right, so this is the one to watch at the moment. You can tell. There you go. It's got the money in it. All right, let me just move these things out of the way here. There we go. All right. All right. So I'm going to mix them up, and I'm going to do this one-handed to make it nice and easy. Remember this one here. There you go. That's the one to watch. All right. All right. All right, brilliant. All right, so if you know which one it is, it's either this one, or this one. It's either 1, 2, or 3. If you can put your answer, someone said I never get this one. If you know the answer to where the matchbox is right now, put your answer. It's either, so this is 1, 2, or 3. Whichever one you think it is, put your answer there, and we'll see whether you are correct in getting it. So let's see. We're going to wait and see. This is known as the shell game. It's sometimes played with the P and the shell, or 3-card Monty. Another name for it is chasing the ace. Oh, so we have our first guess, which is 3. No, I'm sorry, it's not 3. The correct answer was, can you hear that? Was number 1. So watch number 1. It's over here. Okay, ready? I'm going to do it again and mix it up a little bit more. Okay, try and guess again where it is. Try and guess which one is the correct one. All right. So we've got another new guess for 3, but I think that was the same guess again. So let's see if you can guess where it is this time. If you know, now is the time to say. We'll see. All right. Oh, the suspense is killing me. This, by the way, is my favorite game. I collect the shells that people use this on the street, and I spent a year traveling across Europe seeing the people who played this. A lot of people have said 3 again. Everyone is very insistent that it is 3, that it is this one again. No, it's not this one. Someone has said 2, but Barbara's the only one who said is actually. You can hear that. Very quiet. There we go. It's actually number 1. So watch number 1. Here we go. Ready? One more mix. Last try. Make your guess right now. Where is it? Oh, okay. Julia has said 2 right here in the middle. Julia has said 2 is where she thinks it is. It is not. Nope. It is not this one. It is not number 2. In fact, let me just take it and open it up, and you can see there that it is not number 2. So I'm sorry about that. And a lot of people all think that's number 2. Oh, my family loves your new book, Tricky Nick. Thank you. My new book, Tricky Nick. You mean this book right here that is available in the shops right now? Ah, thank you so much. You've made mine 2. It is not 2. No, it's not number 2. Oh, someone has said number 3. Okay, she said number 3 is the other guess. Unfortunately, that is not there. It is actually number 1. Well done, Julia. You came in. You came in at the last minute. You are correct. It is in fact number 1. So why is it so hard to follow the Matchbox? Well, the first thing is that when you can hear it rattling, it is very, very, very quiet and difficult to hear. Hopefully, you were able to hear it. The reason why this, however, was not rattling, because if you look, you can see I've actually blue tacked those coins in there. They are stuck in there. They're never going to make a sound. So basically, what that means is I can shake that. Even if you're correct, I can give it a shake like this, yeah, and you're not going to hear anything, yeah. But if I give this one a shake, you are going to hear something, even though it's not there. And the answer is that I actually have an extra matchbox hidden up my sleeve. If I move my hand just a little bit, it doesn't make a sound. If I move my hand a lot, you can see right there, yeah, it makes a bigger sound. Makes a larger sound. This one is it's filled with stationery, various pieces of stationery, like that. I'll just bring all those out there. There we go, like that. Yeah. So hopefully, let me shake it over there. So it's a little bit louder. So the idea is you put this on your wrist, and if you want it to make a sound, the way I do it is just if I want it to make a sound, I give it a big shake or a little shake if not. But the other way you can do it is just this is always going to be empty, like that, and then with the other hand is always going to make a noise. They're always going to be there. And this works if you think about it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense because people will often say to me, hang on, that shouldn't work. Because if the sound is coming from my wrist and the matchbox is here and I'm doing this, why don't we notice? Like, why don't I go, well, hang on, no, that sound is coming from here. Well, it's actually because your hearing isn't as good as you think it is. Your brain doesn't just use sound to identify where sounds are coming from. We also use sight. So, for example, right now you can hear my voice, and you can probably hear my voice coming from my mouth. But if you think about it, it's not. It's coming from speakers. So the speaker might be, I'm using a laptop, so the speaker is about that far away from where my mouth actually is. If you've got headphones in, it's the distance between you and the screen. If this was at the movies and you were watching this like on the big screen, sort of splayed out across, the massive screen, the speakers might be 5 or 6 meters away from where you think is the source of the sound. That's why ventriloquists are so good at what they do, because you see the lips moving and you assume that's where the sound is coming from. But when they talk to the puppet and they sort of, they say, hello, how are you? And then this happens like this, and the puppet is making the voices, the world's worst ventriloquist. Your brain sees these lips moving and connects the sound to the mouth. This is called cross-modality or cross-modal perception. The idea that your brain isn't just using sound to hear things, it's also using sight. The same goes for food. This is very weird. Chips that sound crunchy taste better. So if I amplify the sound of the chips you are eating, you will be convinced that they taste better because you hear the crunch. Another example, is purely just if food looks good, we think that it tastes better as well. In fact, taste itself is a combination of both taste and smell, but our brain sort of combines them together. So this is this idea of cross-modal perception. And we use this all the time in order to, magicians use this all the time in order to fool people. We will use one sense to create an impression that something else is happening with another sense. So magicians aren't just fooling one of your senses, they're technically trying to fool all of them. Yes! Now Barbara can go and start her own business. This is a lot of fun to set one of these up. You can decorate the Matchbox. You can do this with kids, or you can just annoy your kids with it and see how long it takes for them to figure out where it's coming from. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you my favorite trick to teach, which involves, didn't know about chips. I feel like yeah, that's great, thank you. All right, I'm going to show you a trick now that is a combination of both magic and crass product placement, because it is a mind-reading trick using my new book, Tricking It by me. I'm going to need someone to help do it, and what I'd like, you know, everyone can do this. Everyone can do this at home at the same time as me, and the more people we can get to actually try this, the better it will be. So I'm going to need my book. I'm also going to need this. This is my little note. It's got a little question mark. I'm going to put it up here so you guys can all see it, right there. So this is a middle grade book that I wrote for my daughter, who wanted to know what I do for a living and how I became a magician. So I wrote her this book. It's out through Pan Macmillan at the moment. It's in bookstores, but also in your local library. And as well as telling my life story, completely true, no lies at all, it also teaches you how to do tricks. So I'm going to show you how to do one of the tricks in the book so you can do it yourself. But there is a catch. So I've got here my little question mark is right here. Keep an eye on that. We're also going to need a book. So what I'd like you to do is, if you've got a piece of paper and a pen, what I'd like you to do is to write down a number between, let's say, I won't say 1, let's say between 10 and 300. Actually, let's say 250, one for each page in the book. So I'm going to write down the number 123. Heidi, if you would like to do it as well, just to make sure we have at least one person who does it, just in case, because sometimes you've got to find a pen and a paper and it can be a pain. So if Heidi, if you can make sure you do it as well, that would be fantastic. But the more people, the better. All right. Now I'm sensing that a few people have done it, but all of your numbers are too big. So what I'd like you to do is to take this number that you have here, that's between 10 and 300, and add the digits together. So it's 1 plus 2 plus 3, that's, that would be 6, in my case, like that. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, right there. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. That number now, all I can sense is that number is too small. So we need a number that's somewhere between the small number and the big numbers. Okay, so we got, it's got to be somewhere between this one and this one. How about this? Subtract the small number from the big number, yeah? So you've got a 3-digit number, add up the digits, and then just take that from that. So mine would be 117. That would be my number, 117. Obviously, if you had a different number, yeah, you would end up with a different one. Once you've got your number, if you want to write it in the comments section, that would be fantastic, and you'll see different numbers. You know, if I started with 20 as my number, you know, I would end up with, 17 or whatever. Yeah, we end up with different numbers. So once you've got a number, put it in the comments section, like that. And we all get different numbers. So it's going to be pretty random, a random selection of numbers. We're also going to be using a copy of the book itself, because I've made this so that the book itself is a magic in the library and do it yourself. What I've done is on every page, next to the page number, I put a little symbol. So right there, they're very, very small. Oh, we've got one. 36. Great. So 36 will be our number that we'll use. But if I can see some other numbers just to show there are different numbers, that'd be great. I'm going to hold that up. You can see there's a tiny little clock on that page. 2 people both had 36. What are the odds? That is crazy. 54. Okay, we got some different. 53. Great, we've got some different numbers. A lot of low numbers. Okay. So at page 176, you can see there's a little crystal ball on that page. Excellent. So we've got a bunch of different numbers. We're going to go with the first one though. 219 is a, oh, that one is, let's say, oh, 218. I love that one. That one is a bunny rabbit, just like that. All right. But you said, so we ended up with 36. Barbara was first, so we'll go with her number. So we're going to turn to page 36 right there. Oh, sorry, 36 or 38? 36. All right. All right. So you can see right there, 36. There is the, there's the number right there, and you can see there is a little top hat. That is what we've chosen on page 36. Had we been one page more, then it would have been the hand. I can't see. Oh, thank you. I would have seen 53. Heidi had 53. So it was Heidi's one. That's what she would have gotten. Oh, Heidi would have gotten the linking rings. Right there, you can see Heidi got the linking rings. But we said we go with the first one. That is 36. Right here. Here is our question mark. Yeah. You could have chosen any page, any number at all. Check it out. Right here. It says top hat. Just what we said it was going to be. A top hat. So, how does this work? How is this possible that I could know that the person who would be the very first one to get their answer in there would land on page 36 and choose the top hat? The way in which this is done is because of a mathematical principle which called the rule of nines. And the very, very simple way to explain it is like that. Yeah. So obviously, first thing, we're taking away 9 from that. So really what we're doing is we're taking away, first of all, we take away the 2. So our number will become 70. So then it's 70 minus 7. 70 minus 7. Which means if you have 70 minus 7 will give us 63. So if you do it like that, regardless of the number, you'll always end up, because you have 7 tens, and then you take away 10 sevens, and you take away one of those sevens, you end up with a multiple of 9, because then you have 9 sevens. So if you have, 10 eights and you take away one of those eights, you end up with a multiple of 9, because you only have 9 eights. Now, if that is very, very confusing to you, that is the point. It is because it's a mathematical principle that is kind of tricky to get your head around. And what often happens when we're faced with maths or numbers that we can't understand is that we confuse them with randomness. And we call this pseudo-randomness. When you feel like something is so complicated, I can't understand this, I can't wrap my head around it, therefore I'll just call it random. It's close enough to random. Flipping a coin isn't random. It's got physics involved about how many times does the coin flip, what is it landing on, what is it bouncing on, how much does the coin weigh, what's the air like. But it's too complicated for us to understand, so we just call it random. So basically, the answer will always be a multiple of 9. And so on every page there is a multiple of 9. So page 9, 18, 27, 36, and so on, you will always find a top hat. Yeah? All the other pages will be different, but on the ones that are a multiple of 9, you'll always find a top hat. And if you follow the instructions that I gave you at the beginning, think of a number, add the digits together, take it away from the original number, you'll get a multiple of 9, and you'll be able to perform a miracle. So the question is then, why did Heidi get 53? Why did Heidi get 53, the linking rings, when she should have gotten 54? And the answer is that Heidi probably made a mistake with the maths, with the numbers. And that because you try and do it very quickly, there's things watching, and people often make mistakes. And what is brilliant about that is if that actually happens, you turn to the page and you can show them the number, oh, this is it, you go, wait, did you do the math right? And then they double check, oh, you got the math wrong. Made the trick better to be able to show that that was the case. Anyway, you do need a copy of Tricky Nick to make it work, but it's definitely worth your time. I'm going to show you 2 more tricks very, very quickly. The first one, well, one more trick, and then we're going to explain exactly why Carmelina chose the brain. So, I'm just going to need this little container here, my little box. I'm just going to put this in here like that, put it up here, perfect, just so it's just inside the camera. There is a saying in magic that the hand is quicker than the eye, that somehow I can move my hand so quickly that your eye can't keep up. But that's not hand so quickly that your eye can't follow what is going on. Yeah? It can't be done. The truth is that your brain is actually slower than your eye. Because it takes time for light to bounce off the ball, or in this case off the screen, and to go into your eye and for your brain to register it. So that means there is 1/10 of a second between me, say, throwing the ball in the air and you becoming aware of it. So when you see the ball here, but when your brain sees the ball here, it's already here. Your brain is always a fraction of a second behind. Now this should mean I shouldn't even be able to catch the eyeball, yeah? But I can. And that's because my brain guesses where the eyeball should be, and that's what it shows me. So your brain is living in the past and guessing what the present is. So when it sees the ball here, it shows you the ball up here. But what would happen is if instead of throwing it, I did this. Well, and kept it in my hand. Well, your brain would actually see the ball go up into the air, even though it's not there, realize it's not there, and make it disappear. So your brain is trying to predict what's happening in the present and sometimes getting it wrong. Yeah, and it can be very, very confusing. Yeah, even when you know exactly what is happening. In fact, look, try and watch the eyeball as closely as you can. And I'm going to hold this right up to the screen. I'll do it nice and slow so you can see. There it is, right there. Yeah, yeah. Your brain is trying. So your brain is trying to predict the future, and sometimes your brain gets it wrong. Yeah. Now, don't feel bad if you didn't spot that, because they actually studied this, and psychologists found that 2/3 of people actually see the ball disappear in midair when really the ball is somewhere else altogether. The eye, I should say. Like that. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, it's just like your brain is always just a little bit behind. Just like that. If you missed that one, don't feel bad, because like I said, 2/3 of people will actually see that disappear in midair when really it's somewhere else altogether. Yeah, I do make it look easy. Thank you. It's not. It's really hard. Yeah. Yeah. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. If I could do 4, I would, which I can, so I will. Just like that. All right, but don't feel bad if you didn't spot it, because like I said, 2/3 of people actually think that it disappears in midair when actually, you know what? I'm going to do it in slow motion. All right, just for you guys. Heidi said, I did make a mistake. I got distracted by finding Tricky Nick in the catalogue. Yeah, that's because we think our brains can multitask, but they can't. We can only really focus on one task at a time. All right, just like that. Okay, here we go. So just watch here. I'm going to get it into the box without you seeing it. You might have seen that. I don't know. If you saw it, that's okay. That's fine if you did see it, but you might not have seen it actually come back again. Like that. Just see 2, then obviously just then becomes, sorry, 3 becomes 2. Like that. So there's 2 there. Lost one of his eyes right there. And there's the other one there. And then 1. And then, of course, none. So, the reason why you can't always follow a magician is not that the hand is quicker than the eye, it's that your brain is constantly playing catch-up. Speaking of playing catch-up, we've got a couple of minutes left before we have to finish up. So what I thought I would do is to explain exactly why it is that, that she chose the brain. So, if you have a theory as to why the brain was the one that was selected, put your theory as to why she chose the brain at the very beginning. She chose the brain at the very, very beginning. I gave her a completely free choice. She said brain, and then I managed to show, oh gosh, it says right here, you will pick the brain. If you know why, put it in the comment section. We have had a question, could you be available for a bit of pickpocketing? I'm short this week. I wish. 2 things. One is I gave up pickpocketing. I once stole someone's watch before going on stage, and the idea is I'd steal it from the audience, walk on stage, and then kaboom, go, here's your watch. And as I was standing in the wings, I saw them down on their hands and knees trying to find their watch in tears because they thought they'd lost it. And I went, no, never again. Also, this is also quite true. I would make a terrible pickpocket because I'm not a very hand-touching person. I like touching people. And to be a pickpocket, you don't just, so if we want to steal a watch, you don't just put your hand on their wrist. At the same time, you might put the hand on the shoulder as well. And they notice the hand on the shoulder, and they don't notice the hand on the wrist. In magic, we say the large action covers the small. But again, it's that idea of your brain filtering out information it thinks isn't important. If you feel a hand on your shoulder, your brain gives its attention there and doesn't notice the hand on the wrist and the watch being stolen. So, but because I don't like putting my hands on people's shoulders, I'm not a natural pickpocket. All right, so it looks like no one has had a guess as to why it's possible for her to do this. And the answer is, is how is it possible for me to influence her? And the answer is that it's impossible. You simply cannot do it. You can maybe push people towards one or the other. I find people tend to choose the top hat the most just because it's a little bit darker. But in general, she had a free choice. Because as we've seen, the human brain is very unpredictable. In fact, in the comments, Chameleon has just said she's not sure why she chose the brain. And often it's just the one that caught our attention. Often the decision is made before we're even aware of it. We're just going on some kind of instinct. Sometimes it's a sort of forgotten memory. Sometimes it is that pseudo-randomness that we talked about. It's really impossible to guarantee this kind of decision. But the most important thing, the thing that I keep mentioning throughout this show, is this idea of filtering out information. Your brain takes in all of the data and then uses cognition and memory to decide what is important and to shape an image of the world from that. And then it gets rid of the rest. So there are some things that you probably didn't notice. For example, I said one of these speaks to you more than the others. One of these speaks to you more than the others. And so, well, why would I say that? Well, because on the back of this one, it actually says, you will pick the top hat. So I actually gave myself two different outs. Yeah? If she chose the brain, I could show this one. And if she chose the top hat, I could show that one, yeah? And then just rely on her forgetting about the clipboard or forgetting about the weird phrasing. In fact, this one here, it actually says on the back, you will pick the hand. So it actually gave myself, 3 different options. In fact, not only that, I also had this here, this thing. I said, oh, we're going to need this. This is very, very important. We're going to need this crystal ball. And then I never came back to it, and we all forgot about it. And on the back of that, it actually says, you will pick the eye. So I had 4 different outs, 4 different ways to finish the trick based on what choice she made. So instead of trying to predict the future, I was prepared for all possible futures, which is a nice lesson. But it really comes down to just showing exactly how complicated the brain is, about how our attention can be shifted and moved, how we can miss things that are happening right under our noses, how we can see things that aren't really there. And that is the beauty of both magic and neuromagic, is that it shows us that our whole idea of perception is really an illusion. What we're seeing in front of us isn't necessarily real, it's just a product of our brains. Anyway, it's just about time for me to go because my 3-year-old daughter has wandered in to say hello. Edie, you're welcome to come and say hello if you like. She's got no pants on, so she's unable to join us at this time. I think that is a wise idea, Edie. Okay, bye, honey. She's 3.5. I'm going to have to write a book about wearing pants for her. Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure to be here and to talk to all of you. If you would like to find out more, obviously the book Tricky Nick is available. You can check out my website at conman.com.au, where there's a lot of different videos about optical illusions and all the incredible ways that we are fooled. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.